and welcome to another episode of Life Made by Hand. I'm your host, Angelique. Today we are going to be repotting a few things. We've got this strawberry, fresh from Home Depot, and it is hopefully going to go in two separate pots if I can tease apart some of those roots. And then we've got a couple ambitious peat pot buddies that are graduating to slightly bigger ones, including this lunatic pole bean, which decided that tops were for losers and that it's going to go out the side of the peat pellet, as one does. So I'll be repotting, forgiven definition of it, into some jiffy pots. That way, once they're a little bit bigger, because they're not quite big enough for me to want to put them in out in the garden yet, but when they are, I can just drop them right into the soil. So, let's get started. Now I'll be using some Miracle Grow vegetable and herbs garden soil. Nothing too fancy around here. Gotta get the pots apart. Make sure plastic doesn't go flying. It's actually a pretty nice day out today. It's starting to get overcast, but the weather said it's not supposed to rain for a while yet. Those four. Okay. Easiest is going to be our 4 peat pellets. So, start with those. And I forgot to bring out my little hand trowel, so I will just be scooping them up with the pots themselves. It's kind of neat. They've got teeny little drainage holes right there. Not that they really need it, because these are basically porous in and of themselves. What I'm going to do is use one of them as a scoop for the rest. Put a little bit of dirt in. Squish that down. So for the peat pellets, I've been using little flags with numbers on them, and I've got a notebook with the numbers telling me which plant goes with which little flag. So number 15 here is a Cherokee purple tomato. It's a heirloom plant. I'm super excited that it's actually sprouted, and it actually got so big that if you've never used these peat pellets, they generally come with a little greenhouse of sorts. It's not very intense, but it's a little place to get your plants started. And this guy just went straight up and smacked into the roof of the greenhouse. So he was really ready to get out of there. Fill that boy up. Set you aside. And I do have a giant 2-gallon / 7-liter watering can over here. And I will water everything as soon as they're all planted. So we got sunflower for my mom. She's a big fan of sunflower seeds. And we'll let that get a little bit bigger before it goes into its own pot outside. And once these are transplanted, I'll give you a little tour of my very intricate and intense garden. In actuality, it's currently sitting at 2 storage buckets. You can see that gray guy behind me. Got a couple more like that that have been turned over, drilled holes into, and filled with dirt. And I've got a few plants from a local nursery growing in them, as well as a few others that have actually come up from seed. I'm rather excited about them. One of them is my very first sprouted seed. Another bean, lima beans. Not everybody's favorite, but got some peppers going on. I'm very excited at how big and how well it's doing. I'm not the biggest fan of peppers, but they do add a little spice to foods. I just spent a year and a half in South Korea, and they spice everything. So many things are spiced. And that's not including all the Indian food and oh, it was so good. Some good food there. Okay. Idiot child pole bean will have to go in sideways. So this is technically the top of the peat pellet. It decided to come out the side, as you do. Because, you know, why be normal? Oh, there's Cypher in the background. Cypher, did you find anything? No? There's a cat about to catch ya. That is Stripey. She is technically a foster failure. Mom and I got involved in the local animal fostering thing many years ago, back when Cypher was first born. And we had 3 torties, so we tended to pick up kittens. I was living at home at the time, and we were good with kittens. And her 2 sisters got picked up right away, and she took her sweet time getting adopted. And by the time we were thinking that she might, we had another kitten named Yuma. You might see turn up later. He did not like going up to PetSmart to try to catch a forever home. Sweetest, cuddly thing, as you can imagine. But you take him up to PetSmart and he turns into a hell kitten. So eventually, Stripey picked up that behavior from him. And the foster people, the folks running the place, eventually just told us just to keep the 2. So we had invested so much time and effort into them by that point. It's gonna be tricky getting the strawberries out. Looks like they'll separate into 3 clumps. I thoroughly delighted one of my friends when I turned these up at Home Depot, because she says the local gardening groups had not been able to find them anywhere. And here I am. Oh, look, strawberries. So I picked her up some. Picked 1 bucket up for her and another for me. And I suspect hers are going to do better just because she's a little more experienced than I am. This is my first true garden. Okay. Strawberry number 1. Potted. Probably going to have to add dirt to all of these once I water them. Okay. 3rd one came right out all nice and easy. You actually need more dirt. I'm not thrilled with how unhealthy the strawberries look, but hopefully the little TLC they'll perk up. And clump number 3. And And what I'm probably going to do today is go up to a local garden center and pick up some wide, shallow pots to put the strawberries in, because they tend to oodle out. One of my aunts had about a third of her backyard just covered in strawberries. You know, me and my two cousins were absolutely delighted over that. Okay. Quinault strawberries. Pick you because... And we'd accidentally left the watering jug under the faucet, so it is overly full. So I expect to get water everywhere now. Ooh. Yep. Oh well. If it rains, it'll just wash off. I'm not sure if it's going to rain today or not. It's kind of hard to tell. Weather hasn't forecasted any for a while, but it's starting to cloud up like it's thinking about it. Okay. Anyone need more dirt? Nope. Looks like we're all A-okay. So, next day, looks like our repotted friends made it through the night. They went inside for the evening. And this morning when I came out to water everything, I brought them back out. And these are two new friends from the garden center where I did not find pots for the strawberries, but I found a pumpkin plant that they said was good for both pies and carving, and a watermelon orange glow, which she said was also supposedly sweeter than your average red watermelon. Excuse me. Here we got Cypher, who's going to the vet soon. Yeah. And that should be interesting because they've got his name down as Cipher in the system. I guess the person who took my stuff misheard his name. So they're expecting a chow named Cipher. You might notice he does not look like a chow. He is chow German Shepherd. So here's my lima bean that I'm all excited about because it just popped up and grew and grew and grew. And it's hanging out with a cucumber that is just for my mother. And that is a store purchase. I can't eat cucumbers. I don't know if you know this, but you can apparently be allergic to them. So it made me sad because I love cucumbers. And they are waiting for a couple of potatoes to pop up. Those actually went in whole. And hopefully will send out little sprouts. Over here is the first container. And we've got 4 sweet corn. Because corn is wind pollinated, so it always needs friends. And that pole bean is probably going to get planted down here somewhere. So I can use one of these guys as a trellis. I was super worried about both this one and this one because they got knocked over in a hailstorm a week or two back, but they seem to be growing pretty strong. Over here we have a couple of tomatoes, a HM 1823, also a store purchase. All of these are store purchases. This is a lemon basil. And what they told me was that lemon or citrusy herbs are good for repelling mosquitoes. I've also heard that mints in general are good for that. So we've got a sweet mint hanging out by the front door. And we've got another cucumber over here. And marigolds are good for repelling all sorts of pesky insects. So I've got this guy from the store. And hopefully one of my marigolds from seed will get big enough to join the other guys over here and keep them protected. But I think that that's all for this episode. I will catch you another time. This has been Life Made by Hand.